Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara and welcome to another video. I'm thinking about making some reviews on Netflix series, not just Netflix but other networks as well, as I do watch a lot of films and not to waste time or to numb my brain, but I always watch things in topics that are related to my work. So let's say, that is to say, love, intimacy and sex. Yeah, so I recently watched Anatomy of a Scandal and I was inspired to make this video review. Well, I don't know if it's a review or not, but I wanted to share some of my reflections about the topics raised in it. And here's a spoiler, I'm going to be talking about consent. And I've always wanted to talk about this, and watching the series Anatomy of a Scandal has really inspired me to do so. So Anatomy of a Scandal, I've seen it a lot on the thumbnails on Netflix when I'm looking for something new to watch, and I'd seen it but I didn't really want to, I didn't click on it until the other day. And it is about a politician who has a sex scandal. Surprise, surprise, that's nothing new there. And it's starring Sienna Miller, who is the politician's wife. And it all starts when the story of him having an affair with his subordinate who works with him in Parliament. I think it's a Parliament researcher who's younger as well. They have an affair and it's about to break in the press. So first of all, we're dealing with how his wife is kind of processing that information about finding out her husband is having an affair, and then she has to be supportive and be, because otherwise it looks bad in the press. So even though I guess in that situation you have to put your own feelings on the back burner and just try and kind of save the situation, which I can understand must be very frustrating for anyone who finds themselves in that situation. I loved Sienna Miller's clothes in this. I really loved it. I was really inspired to have my own abundant wardrobe. And I also loved the settings. I mean, the house where they were living, and also all of these nice London backdrops, especially for a British expat like me. I've not even been home for 3 years, so it's kind of nice. It was always raining, but I mean, I'm now boiling in the sun here, but it was kind of nice to see. I like British dramas, I definitely do. So that was nice. And I also love kind of dramas around politicians. I do find it fascinating, this marriage of formality and passion. That's something that's always intrigued me. One of my favourite films is actually, I think it's called Damage in English, with Jeremy Irons and Juliette Binoche. It's the same kind of thing. It's like loads of passion and formality, sometimes at the same time as well. So that's something I kind of find appealing about British dramas, especially also political scandals. They always kind of like grab my attention when I've seen them in the press. So anyway, it starts off as being a political scandal about an affair, and as it unravels, it turns out that it becomes a rape accusation, and that's where the story takes a little bit of a twist. And it's very talking about consent, because I think people think of rape and they think of maybe violence or someone being immobilized or a stranger jumping out on them in a dark street, but it can be like that, but also it can be situations where usually you could be with someone you know, and sometimes you can be in a situation that starts as a yes and it becomes a no. And how do we deal with that? And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I've been wanting to talk about this topic for a long time, and I didn't really know how to address it. So here I am today with that. And that's exactly what this accusation is. The politician who's the accused is really surprised by this, because he thinks it's all kind of maybe revenge or something like that, because he'd called off their affair just before this incident happened, and he has no idea. And also there are some flashbacks from when the couple who were I think they were at Oxford when they were students. So it's kind of like the same era that I was at university, all the kind of 90s music, and it kind of reminded me a lot of my university experiences of people getting absolutely wasted, and all this kind of male bonding after sports games, and they become very violent and very animalistic, which I do find a little bit disturbing and scary. And something like that how they were doing in this film something called anal chugging. That's disgusting. Anyway, if you look it up in Urban Dictionary, there's some kind of ritual where, you know, some guy's bent over and they're kind of like pouring some alcohol over his crack and someone's drinking it, I think, and that was like, I found that very disturbing. I had to Google it and just say, is this a thing? And apparently it is. But in my university, what the rugby team used to do, they used to kind of get all really wasted and have this bin in the middle of this circle, and it was like trying to see who the first person to get to throw up in it was, and that was the objective of the evening. And I just find that really sad, this kind of drinking culture. A lot of crap things happen when you're drunk, and I mean, sometimes here when I live in Spain now, and when I'm annoyed by crazy people in the street or loud people, it's usually alcohol has something to do with it. I don't see anything good in alcohol at all. So there's a lot of that kind of rowdy behaviour referred to in this film, well, as a flashback to when they were younger. And yeah, so this kind of rape case, I can understand that the person, the accused, has no idea that this is even possible, and that's why I wanted to make this video, because I do think that happens a lot more than we think. The lines of consent can become blurred in certain situations. I don't really know if we know how to deal with it as people, or how we can confront these situations and how to, and not be offended and not be awkward. I mean, I've even been in situations like this myself when it was okay to start with, and then suddenly penetration's happening that I don't remember saying yes to, but I'm kind of frozen because I don't know what to do, and if I'd say something, it's going to become really awkward. Could it get out of control? And I do, afterwards, these times it's happened to me, I felt very annoyed with myself for not speaking up, because I don't think the other person would have wanted to do it if they'd known I wasn't 100% into it. And that's why I think it's important to discuss boundaries and triggers and consent and all of these things before you actually take your clothes off. And it might sound a bit boring, that, or a bit kind of, I don't know how that sounds, but I think it's important. And also, discussing sexual taste before doing things, with being intimate with someone, can actually be a huge turn on. It can be a great part of foreplay. It doesn't have to actually take the fun out of it. It could be the opposite, actually. And now in my life, I would consider myself as a kind of vanilla person these days. I'm into kind of vanilla stroke spiritual sex. And well, I think the spiritual world is quite good with consent, etc. But two groups of people that are very good with it, I think, is the BDSM community and the BDSM fetish kink community, and also the polyamorous community. Even though those are not my ways of living my sexuality or my relationships at the moment, I do admire how they address these issues of consent and triggers and boundaries and where the limits are, and safe words especially. I think everyone should have a safe word, not just if you are in some kind of kinky whips kind of bondage situation. It should be really for everyone and all scenarios. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to, and I'm really glad that this series did address this kind of blurry lines of consent. In the end, he was sorry, this is a spoiler, but he was found not guilty because because there just wasn't a no. There wasn't this kind of what people perceive as non-consent to be. It wasn't really present, or it wasn't really obvious enough. But I still think that doesn't mean it didn't take place. But I think we should be able to communicate these things a bit more, and have, maybe that's why people have safe words that are not yes or no. They have red or something else, so you know that's the limit. You know, you're near your limit, or you're crossing the limit. And I think that could be helpful for all scenarios and all couples. Yeah, and also one thing about the film, that the ending was a bit kind of weird. I'm not going to talk about that. That's probably not really to do with consent so much. But one thing I did find a bit strange as well is during this court case, when the woman who was accusing who is the victim in this situation, when she came for questioning, she came out very confidently, and I think someone in that situation wouldn't kind of strut onto the dock. I think it would be more or do they call it a doc when you're the accuser? I don't know. But anyway, in the court, and I found she was walking on very confidently, whereas I think of a victim, and I think they would come on a bit like kind of a bit intimidated by the whole situation. But then again, I was thinking there are no perfect victims. If not everyone is going to, be the perfect victim, and if that doesn't mean they should be believed less either. Yeah, so apart from the questions raised, it wasn't uncomfortable to watch. I found it very very intriguing and very gripping, and I think it's something that we should all talk about a little bit more. Consent. What is yes, what is no, how should we communicate these things? And yeah, so that's the anatomy of a scandal, and I'm going to be reviewing some more things, because I always watch some pretty good things that, I think they're good anyway, things that really grip me, and they all also are related to the topics that I work in, which is sex, love and intimacy. And if you have any recommendations for series, please let me know. I have Amazon Prime and Netflix. I'm always looking for something new to get my teeth into, and also it kind of really helps with my work and how my understanding of relationships and my own professional and personal knowledge. Anyway, you can hear lots of fireworks now, because today it's San Juan in Spain. So it's going to be a whole night of craziness, of fireworks and all of that. So I just thought I'd make a video before it gets too noisy. Anyway, what about you? Have you watched Anatomy of a Scandal? What do you think about the topics of consent? How should we best communicate these things? I would love to read your comments in the comment section below, and please make suggestions for more things for me to watch and review, and I'll be back very soon with more videos. Thanks for watching.